West Hill United is a progressive spiritual community where how you live is more important than what you believe. West Hill United is a people, a place, an idea. We are a community living out of a progressive faith, striving to make a positive difference in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. or connect with us at any time.
At the end of the readings, we customarily add the phrase, offered as wisdom for the journey, and we invite you to respond with the phrase, maybe walk in its light. This is simply an invitation to participate if you wish to do so. In addition, today, after each reading, you'll be invited to raise your shaker and make some noise. And that's in practice for the perspectives. First reading. Caitlin Moran is an English journalist, broadcaster, and author at The Times. Moran began her journey as a journalist at the age of 16, writing for Melody Maker, a weekly music publication. Moran's talent extends beyond journalism. She has authored several best-selling books, including How to Be a Woman, a candid and humorous exploration of womanhood, and How to Build a Girl, a coming-of-age novel that resonates with many. Moran writes, throughout history, you can read the stories of women who, against all the odds, got being a woman right, but ended up being compromised, unhappy, hobbled, or ruined, because all around them, society was still wrong. Show a girl a pioneering hero. Sylvia Plath, Dorothy Parker, Frida Kahlo, Cleopatra, Boudica, Joan of Arc, and you also, more often than not, show a girl a woman who is eventually crushed. And that is from Caitlin Moran, How to Be a Woman. Offered as wisdom for the journey, may we walk in its light, and women rock. Make some noise. Second reading. Joan Chichester is one of the most influential religious and social leaders of our time. For over 50 years, she has passionately advocated on behalf of peace, human rights, women's issues, and monastic and church renewal. A much sought-after international speaker, she is also a best-selling author of more than 60 books, hundreds of articles, and an online column for the National Catholic Reporter. She holds a doctorate in social psychology from Penn State University. This reading represents extracts from the Maldileva Lecture in Spirituality entitled Job's Daughters, which was delivered in 1990. Chichester does an impressive job explaining the power dynamics that place and keep women at a disadvantage all over the world. Despite this lecture being given over 30 years ago, her depiction of global events and the current status of women, it remains painfully relevant. Chichester writes, in quotes, in its decade for women, 1975 to 1985, the UN named 3 daughters of women, a reference to Job's daughters, as peace, development, and equality. They must be recognized, honored, and freed if a new world for women is ever to come. Peace. Without peace, the development of women is impossible. Militarism saps our best minds, our best resources, and the bulk of our resources for the sake of destruction, without putting anything of value back into society, and by providing only a small number of jobs for only the highest of high-skilled workers. Development. Without development, programs that involve women and take women's issues into account, the growth and improvement in women's equality of life will be impossible. Everywhere women have been conditioned to want less, to expect less, and to receive less than men do. As a result, they are underpaid, undereducated, and underfed. Equality means that women must have the same rights, the same responsibilities, and the same opportunities that men do. But that can only happen if women have the same power that men do to make the same kinds of decisions, the same kinds of profits, the same kinds of contributions of thought and law and life. Until women become equal partners with men in every office, every shop, and every chancery of the world, it will be a myth to talk about the equality of women. Offered as wisdom for the journey. May we walk
May we
in
all
its
in its
light.
light.
Women rock. Take some deep breaths. Now back to Babette.
This is one time in the year where you make more noise than I do. John McKechnie has put together a beautiful tribute, a beautiful representation of women who rock. And we are going to be hearing from three of them. Two of them are farther away, and one of them is right here. And Laurel will be on the Zoom together, and she is in Burlington, Hamilton area, west of us. Karen Holcomb will be coming, as you know, from New Mexico. And Ann Jackson is right here with us together. And they are going to be sharing something from their lives, from their understanding, in ways that for them, women rock. So the first one is Laurel on the Zoom screen.
Thank you, and good morning. When
Problemos. Laurel, you're muted.
Okay, I'll start again. Good morning. When asked to present for Women Rocks, Amanda Gorman came to mind because for me, she is about the youth that will lead us forward. So I did a lot of research, got on Google, listened to her tapes, listened to her songs, figured out how many books she had written, all her accolades. And then I decided not to present that to you because I want you to be amazed. I want you to be as amazed as I was at this young woman and the many people, young women like her, who are out there. So I want you, when this is done, to be so interested that you will Google her and take a deep dive into what this woman has and what she can offer us, because she is one of the many youth who are actively working to bring a new day, taking action for our world and for humankind, as she calls it. So I will give you a couple of brief facts about this young woman. Her name is Amanda Gordon. She was born March 7th, 1998. She was raised, in her words, by a strong Black woman. At the age of 17, her first book of poems was published. At the age of 24, she was catapulted to the world at the inauguration of President Biden when she read her poem. She talks about a speech impediment that she has or had, and she says, I don't consider having a speech impediment necessarily as a disability, but actually as a strength. It gave me my biggest superpower, which is my voice. So I am going to read, if the tech team will put up a picture of her, I will read her poem. It is beautiful. I cannot do it justice. I will encourage you, again, when you do the deep dive, to hear her say her poems in her own world, in her own words. So if the tech team can put up the picture of Amanda Gordon.
It's up there.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing that on the screen. Okay. The poem is titled A New Day's Lyric. And she wrote this at the onset of 2022. For me, this is how I think any new day could begin. May this be the day we come together. Morning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we are now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make. The moments we meet and our hearts, once altogether beaten, now altogether beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts we hear it. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne. Be bold, sang time this year. Be bold, sang time. For when you honor yesterday, tomorrow you will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. Please take the picture down. This is Amanda Gorman on hope, and she says, hope is within and outside of myself. It is a practice. You need to do it again and again. Look to the helpers and the healers. And I say to you, women rock.
I love who's ever doing that. Yeah. Try and get this in the right spot. It's right in the view of my notes. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm going to be shaken 3 times today, so after the first one I'm still going to be sticking around, just to warn you. Today I'd like to celebrate 2 women from different eras, both trailblazers in different sports, interconnected through their fight for equality and inclusiveness, and making an incredible difference for the future of all women in all sports. And I think well beyond sports as well. Right now, in 2024, we are witnessing the direct impact of their efforts in the inaugural season of the Professional Women's Hockey League. And so the first slide should be of Billie Jean King in her glory days. In her legendary tennis career, Billie Jean King captured 39 Grand Slam titles, including 20 Wimbledon championships. When Billie Jean was hitting the first place podium, women in tennis were selling the same number of tickets as their counterpart males, but earning 1/8 their salaries. The second slide of King and Riggs. One of the most pivotal moments in Billie Jean's career came in 1975 when she faced the Tennis Hall of Famer Bobby Riggs in the much publicized Battle of the Sexes. Riggs was vocal in his belief that women were inferior to men. He meant what he said, and he bet heavily on himself for this match. Viewed by an estimated 90 million people worldwide, the match became a symbol of the fight for gender equality. At the courtside, right before the first serve, Bobby Riggs presented Billie Jean with a giant sugar daddy lollipop. And King responded by giving Riggs a little piglet, symbolic of male chauvinism. Billie Jean King won in 3 straight sets and took home the $100,000 prize money, which was the largest prize in tennis for the day. But the real prize was what it meant for women's sport and the fight for equality. Her resounding victory shattered stereotypes and ignited a new era of employment for female athletes. She said afterwards, "To beat a 55-year-old was no thrill for me. The thrill was exposing a lot of people to the game." Billie Jean was instrumental in the formation of Women's Sports Foundation, dedicated to advancing the role of women in sports. And the next slide. Today, more than half a century later, Billie Jean King is pioneering women's sports again, this time as an investor and an advisor in the new Professional Women's Hockey League. The experienced negotiator, King advised the decorated athletes through their contract negotiations. She was also instrumental in securing the dollars needed to launch the league, and today serves on the PWHL's advisory board. On January 1st, opening day in Toronto of this year, the 80-year-old Billie Jean King dropped the first ceremonial puck. Billie Jean King still rocks. Next slide, please. It is known that women have enjoyed playing hockey since the mid-1800s. I didn't know that till I started researching this. The first record of organized women hockey in Canada was at the university level in the 1890s. Here, a few decades later, are the 1919 Eaton's Red Wings in Moncton, New Brunswick. I attended university just a few years later, in the mid-1970s, where there was a women's varsity hockey team. In my freshman year, a friend on the team suggested that I come out to tryouts. I was an intermediate skater at best, and I had played a very little shinny hockey with friends, so I thought they were crazy for me to try out. But I did. Looking back on the experience, I realized that the team was comprised entirely of women who had never played organized hockey, just like me, before their university tryouts. Organized hockey for girls simply didn't exist at the time. By the way, I made it to the last cut, but I didn't make the team. I was wearing secondhand skates that actually cut my ankles. It was painful, but it was a really a fun experience. Doesn't matter. Next slide. In 1981, the 12-year-old Justine Blaney won a spot on a Metro Toronto Hockey League team, only to then be denied the chance to play at this higher level because the MTHL regulations did not permit girls to play. Blaney addressed her complaint to the Human Rights Commission, but the HR code specifically allowed sexual discrimination in sports. Justine took the case to 5 different courts before finally having her case heard by the Supreme Court of Canada in 1986. Her courageous efforts ultimately led to the ban of sex discrimination in all sports. This teenager was successful in actually changing Canadian law. Her efforts also led to sweeping revisions in ice allocation policies in local municipalities so that girls got more equitable ice time at their local arenas. Justine Bailey rocks. Blaney rocks. In January of this year, I was invited to attend a professional women's hockey game in Toronto at the Toronto Mattamy Athletic Centre, which is, by the way, in the old Maple Leafs Gardens building. And here are some of the things I witnessed and some of the reasons why I am now a big fan. First of all, it's really good hockey. It's skilled play. The best of the best players from around the world, decorated Olympic athletes, and world event medals. Now paid professionals. Not quite a living salary, but it's a good start. And there are even many female referees on the ice and TV commentators who are great, and they're all women. Next slide. The league has great fans. The positivity and enthusiasm is palpable. All ages are represented in the stands, and the tickets are actually affordable. Tickets that would be $400, maybe $500 a piece, if you're going to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs, are $40. Picture this. Between periods, I saw young girls from local rinks playing in about an 8-minute scrimmage with thousands of joyful spectators cheering them on. How thrilling for them. And then when the next period starts and the big athletes are back on the ice, the 8-year-olds are now off the ice and in the stands, and they're holding up a sign that says, "If Toronto wins, our coach is going to buy us all slushies." Soon, hundreds of fans are screaming, "We want slushies! We want slushies!" I'm telling you, I never had so much fun, never had that much fun at a Leafs game. And fans are forming communities not just of support for their local home team, but also for the league in general. I sat near the parents of one of the players, Emma Maltese, and they were holding up a sign that read, "Play for all the girls that had to change in storage rooms." So picture it. Well, the boys got the change rooms, the girls had to change in the storage cupboards. The last slide, the next one. On February 15th, the Toronto-Montreal game was moved to the big stage, the Scotiabank Arena on Toronto Maple Leafs home ice. The game sold out in 18 hours, shattering attendance records with 19,835 screaming fans. It was a real thrill to be there and witness. These high-performance athletes express appreciation to the fans at every opportunity. They understand that the spectators in the stands and those watching at home are ensuring the future of women's hockey. They understand that they have responsibility to be good role models. In a recent interview, Natalie Spooner, the league's current top goal scorer, by the way, and also, by the way, from Scarborough, Ontario, she said, "It's important to show young girls that there is a place for them and they can chase their dreams." Women rock. Oh, I forgot. My daughter bought it for me at this game. Anyway.
Good morning. I would like to introduce you to my mother, Marie, who has been my inspiration all my life. Mom was born in Nebraska in 1920, graduated from high school at 16, and received a Bachelor of Arts degree in music education at the age of 20. She started piano lessons at 4 years old and played the piano for her last community theater musical at the age of 95. After Mom and Dad were married in New Jersey, he went to France during World War II, and she traveled across country to California to meet his family. Her career as a music teacher in the public schools spanned 40 years, and she inspired thousands of students to appreciate music. She led her church choir for 60 years and often played the church pipe organ for weddings and funerals. At home, she was a flower gardener and made homemade noodles, although she didn't consider herself a cook. She painted the house inside and out and made costumes for school programs. Mom was a poet and an amateur artist, a furniture refinisher and a seamstress, a reader, and she loved working crossword puzzles. She was curious, adventurous, and gracious, and enjoyed meeting new people and seeing new places. When Dad died in 1991, Mom lived another 25 years on her own, showing me how to be an independent and strong woman. Her laugh was contagious, and she cried freely at anything that touched her soul. She was a good neighbor, a good friend, and a musical pillar in her community. Mom spent many volunteer hours taking meals to elderly shut-ins and visiting with them. She had many friends, young and old. Her influence reached far. When she died in 2016, a young man whom she had recently worked with for a musical contest traveled 5 hours through a blizzard to attend her funeral. My mom was a remarkable woman. I will leave you with this thought. Whom do we thank for her? The stars, the universe, she herself? None of these seems thanks enough for such a gift as having had her in our lives. Women rock.
Become a sustaining champion of West Hill United's work by committing to an automatic monthly donation. Learn more or donate now through Canada Helps.